it's always a pleasure to see you, but this is such a great occasion. But I'll start with the obvious question. Did you have it in mind, Unbreakable times, that this would be 3?
I did, and then I didn't want to make it. So
really?
That's what took forever. And a lot of reasons of why I didn't want to make it. I don't like the feeling of sequels. I don't want to know what I'm making next. I don't want the audience to already know what they're seeing. I felt Unbreakable wasn't accepted at its time, and at that time it seemed like no one wanted to make movies come to movies about comic books. Nobody felt like they were interested in that subject matter.
It was so iconic at the time, so I don't know if you felt that. I didn't. I just love Unbreakable.
Thank you so much.
But it's nice that it's taken its time, because you've allowed the movie to acquire so much following and to become so iconic in itself that it kind of made sense.
I mean, I did have that perception, but I'm not making that up. The president of Disney called me up and said, the audiences don't like this movie. I remember that call. I remember I pulled the car over and I had this conversation with them about Unbreakable, and because the tone was so weird, and they were like, and we didn't tell them it was a comic book movie, and they're like, what's a comic book? Why are you even talking about comic book? We didn't even prepare them for what they were seeing. So really interesting to be here, after all that.
No, absolutely. And now people love comic books. So, now we can all rest. But was it part of your upbringing, the feeling of comic books, the imaginative world that it takes you to?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up kind of at an inflection point where obviously TV was, reruns and all that stuff were a big thing, and so they were playing the Batman series, and then there was the Hulk, and all that stuff. So we had all of that stuff going on. Then there was Wonder Woman, and my cousin had a crush on her, and all this stuff. So there was all that, but you still had comic books. That was still a possibility. You go to the store and you could go get comic books, and that was a thing still. And the idea of looking at cells on a page, I mean, for a future filmmaker, this is the perfect way to train, right? You're looking at cells on a page, and one of them occasionally makes you stop and look at it more. And you're thinking about it, and you don't go to the next cell right away. What is it about that that's drawing you? How is it telling its story a little stronger than the other cells? And that stays with you as you grow up.
That's interesting, because creatively everybody's been saying that about you. You know so well what your vision is and what you require from the actors as characters. How important is it for you to be so prepared?
That's everything. I'm not the best on, randomly with 1,000 things going on and, hey, make a creative decision. I don't know what to do, but you close a door and you give me an unlimited amount of time to think about it in my room, I'll come up with something really cool. So let me think about it enough until I feel that peace, So I prep as crazy as I can till we get to the day of shooting.
So what inspired the Kevin W. Crumb 23 or 24 personalities, and can you name them all?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh my gosh. I'm sad to say I probably would fail that. I'd get close, but I think I would fail it. Because there's smaller characters that you literally have 2 lines that I thought of, Ansel and things like that. And the stories of DID, they can have an enormous amount of personalities, from 6 to 60 some. But the book, The Minds of Billy Mulligan, was really instrumental to me when I was studying and learning about this stuff. And it's a fascinating story about the true life, one of the most documented true life guys that had this disorder, and he went to prison and all. And I believe he had 20, 24, 25, it was in that world. And that number just felt right. It felt like enormous, mind-boggling, but I could actually possibly give you a chance to see them all if I ever had the opportunity. And in this movie, James plays 20 of them. Like, you'll see 20 of them. I cut out 3, but...
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
But, who knows what the future holds. Yeah,
we shot them, we just cut them out.
The director's cut. Well, I did tell him that if he was ever going to teach acting, that's a great acting exercise. Emulate all 20, Go.
We were in Paris yesterday, and we were talking, we were taking photos, and he did something, and I was like, I just thought of another personality. And I whispered it to him, another one. He was like, oh, that's good. And I'm like, too late.
Well, hey, there's social media now, and you can do an Instagram story about it.
That's true.
But that's a good point, because in 2000 social media didn't exist. Social media did infuse and influence glass for you, didn't it?
Yeah, again, what made what made Unbreakable a success was the bloggers, which were just beginning at that time. They were the ones that started to hold on to it, you know, and it was a movie really for them, and they held on to it. And I think in these 18 years, there's been a wonderful movement. You know, there was a middle period where it was lawless. When I say that, like, you couldn't control what was happening with the internet and movies, where I feel now, I almost like, it has a code to it to some extent. Like, if they don't like what you're doing, it's gonna go crazy, right? But if they're respecting and they support you, you give it to them, and then you let them protect it. And it sounds weird and naive what I'm saying, but like, for example, I showed Split 4 months in advance to audiences and let them protect it. They went out and talked about it, but they never said anything about the ending and all of that stuff. And that's the way it should be. It's for them, and it should be theirs to tell everybody. That's why I make them small and try to trust the audiences and give it to them.